The other thing I would like to say is we will be recording this just so you can watch it back later, and we can put it on YouTube as well, just so you can view it again later and share it with colleagues if necessary. So we will put it up on YouTube, so it's just a warning to say we will be recording this. Okay, so Craig, if you haven't already, if you wouldn't mind pressing the record button. Now, as you can see in front of you, there's a quick poll there. The poll should have popped up in front of you. So if you can just click on the poll question and just answer A, B or C, and then press submit at the bottom. And what we'll do is we'll share those results with everyone. Okay, so just to let you know, my name's Steve Morgan. I work for a company called EPI-USE. We're a SAP HCM specialist, or that's what we're known for, although we do a lot more than that these days. Cloud, payroll, success factors, training, all sorts of other things. Personally, I head up the people enablement team, which is everything really to do with people and the system. So obviously, SAP systems don't run themselves. The people need to run them, and I deal with anything. Myself and Craig, we do anything around the people side of things, whether that's process, training, data quality, those kind of things. So very good. I hope everyone's finished that poll. So Craig, has everyone finished the poll?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I'm just publishing the results now. Hopefully, you should all see them.
Okay, so that just gives us a small amount of background as to where everyone's at with kind of ad hoc queries. So whether you're completely new to SAP, haven't used ad hoc, or whether you're kind of halfway there already. Okay, so nobody completely new. Most people have used SAP to a certain extent, and a lot of people have used ad hoc before, perhaps dabbled with it or just not understanding the fuller features. So hopefully you'll get a lot out of this session. Okay, excellent. So without further ado, let me hand over to Craig, because I know ad hoc query in 30 minutes is fairly tight. So I'll let Craig get on with the demonstration and training. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Steve. Good afternoon. It's Craig Mack here. Thanks for joining. I've been using SAP for the last 13 years, and specifically HCM, so pretty much all the modules you'll find within SAP, from recruitment to payroll to talent, etc. So I think I've got a great understanding of how the system works, and more importantly, the intricacies of reporting, because there is always a bit of a challenge with some of the basic tools that came shipped out with SAP. So one of the tools I'm going to take you all through is our friend Ad-Hoc Query. So as you've gathered, Ad-Hoc Query is quite a good tool, so you can use it to report on your master data. So you're looking at employee records, so that's all the records you'll see traditionally within PA20. So all those different info types, from personal data to org assignment info types. You can look at payroll data, but one of the limitations with Ad-Hoc Query is that you can't report on payroll results. Okay, so there's specific payroll reports that you can do for your running payroll, and certainly when your evaluation time and attendances as well. So any of that data that's stored when you're doing time evaluation, again, you can't use Ad-Hoc Query to report on that kind of data. But, what makes up the gross part of payroll, so things like basic pay, recurring payments, one-off amounts, allowances, that kind of thing, you can report on all that. And the same for time and attendance, you've got absences and attendances and things like that. So, it is a good tool with some limitations. I'm hopefully going to show you how to use all the sort of functionality of Ad-Hoc Query. So I'm going to go jumping straight into SAP. So I'm going to log into our demo system here. I did remember my password today, so no password issues. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through as we go along some of the functionality, and feel free to drop any messages in the chat pane on your WebEx panel there, and Steve can pick them up as we go through, or we can wait until a bit later. So I'm going to go into Information System Reporting Tool, so the SAP menu, so Ad-Hoc Query. Now, Ad-Hoc Query, there's usually quite a bit of setup that's got to be done in the system. So normally it's configuration role, so whoever's got access to transaction SQO3 would set up all the different info sets. So info sets just looks at all the different database relationships. So I've already prepared some info sets. I prepared a user group. So, you can assign different roles and people to user groups. So I've got UK training team. It's specific to us, of course. But, you can assign roles. If there's, got HR assistants, you only want them to look at different types of data. You can set up user groups and assign all those role profiles to those groups. So I've got some example info sets. So I'm going to take you through our PA info set. So this looks at all your traditional info types within basic pay, PA20 transaction. So select our info set. Now I can see on the poll results, quite a fair number of you guys already use Ad-Hoc Query. So I'll skim through quite a few of the basics, but obviously I still want to cover the basics. We've had a few people there that are not giving us any answers, etc. So I just want to go through very quickly how you use this tool. So as you can see there, the way to look at this tool is on the left-hand side there, you've got all the fields that you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and build a simple report. So I'm going to go and start with action. So I guess the key thing here really is before you even build a report, you've got to think to yourself, well, exactly what it is, what do we want to report on? Do we want to report on specific absence data? Do we want to look at a certain age range of employees? Maybe for succession planning. Maybe, we've got some sort of older generation people in, some older roles and, if we want to do any recruitment and things like that, you really got to think about what it is you actually want to report on before you even touch the system. So I'm just going to pull together just a simple sort of management information style report on basic pay, and I'm going to run through one on absences as well. Now, I've opened up the info types. So basically, you've got to look at this like your info type. So I want to output personnel numbers. So I right-clicked on output, and I actually want to specify the value only. So I just want the personnel number, not the personnel number text. Employment status. Now I actually want to select, as you can see, I've put a tick in two different boxes. Now what I want to do is actually specify the system. You know what? I actually want to look at our active employees only. So I've clicked in the value there. I'm selecting active. Okay, so now this report is only going to look at our active employees. What else do we want? So we want some org assignment data. So we may want the person's position. So I'm going to right click on output. I want their position number and their position text, so their job title, and the same with their team or the organisational unit as it's known. So I want the org unit number and their team. So let's make it a bit more personal so we know who our employees are. What do I want? So surname, let's go with first name, and we could probably stick in form of address. And obviously I'm going to put in age in there as well. Okay, so I'm selecting all my fields, and as you can see, what's happening at the bottom of this here, you've got the preview window. So you can see that it's building a template of what the report's going to look like. So I'm just going to go in, add in some additional fields. So I just want to put in annual salary. Now this is our test system, so there is a lot of dummy type data in there. Obviously when you're doing this for real, it's a lot more realistic. Okay, now there's some other filters that I might want to put on. So at the moment, based on all those selections, if I click on the hit list here, it's telling me there's 800 employees in the system that matches that criteria. So remember, I've chosen some org assignment details, some personal data, and basic pay. Now, if I want to start filtering the results, I might want to filter by age. So, for example, coming back down to age, even though I've got it in my report, I actually want to specify another value. So what I can do is click on multiple selections. So this feature allows you to either include or exclude values. So what I want to say to this report is, do you know what, I only want to show me 25 to 26-year-olds in our organisation. So I put in 25, upper limit 26. Let's go ahead and click on copy, click on refresh. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on your numbers because everything's obviously date driven. You want to get an idea is, you know what, is this actually, is this real? Is this showing us a true representation of our, of our people? So you'll have an idea yourselves when you're running these reports whether it's giving you the right sort of numbers. So I know definitely there's 10 people in this system that are aged between 25 and 26. So again, I can go in and make some adjustments. Maybe I go in, okay, so I want people between 25 and 26. Maybe I want to also show in a report employees that are aged between 35 and 36. There's different ways you can cut this. You know, you can go into single values and just say, you know, only show me, you know, people are aged 30 or whatever. You know, it depends on what the purpose of the report is, but I've just shown you the functionality of how to include ranges. So we go ahead in that. So I click on refresh, and now that's bumped up to 79 because obviously we've included additional people. So we've got our 25 to 26-year-olds, and then we've got our 35 to 36-year-old population in here. Now, I'm not being ageist, by the way. This is just an example that I just wanted to show you how simple it is to include and exclude. I can go in there and think, you know what, I'm going to exclude 35-year-olds in there. So I'm going there, click on refresh. Okay, so there's probably no 35-year-olds in there, so we've got 79 people in there. Okay, so now if I want to go and look at, let's think about it. Okay, so now I actually want to look at the employees. So we've got the refresh button down here. So this comes up with a standard selection screen where I can go and filter again using the multiple selections, or I can say, you know what, I've done everything on my first screen. I'm going to click on execute. And as you can see now, it's actually built the report. So this is actually looking at our live data now and populated it. Now I can make some adjustments down here. So I may want, okay, so I don't like the first name or form of address. I don't like that. I want that at the front of my report. So I literally selected the columns and dropped them in there. It's got my first name, actually form of address. I want that at the front there. I've got my position. I've got my org unit details, I've got my age, got my annual salary, etc. So that might do, you know, I might think to myself, you know what, that's all I want the report for, I can go and export that. You'd say, okay, great, so I can click on this button here, I can click on spreadsheet, I'll go into Excel, I'll get a couple of security messages, so I'm just going to drop it on my desktop. Yep, and there we go, and then you can dump the report directly into Excel. You know, that you know, quick and easy, and that, you know, that's all you probably may want the report for, is just to quickly run some stats and obviously share that report. Obviously what you've got to think now is, now you've disconnected this report to SAP, this report will come out of date because, you know, you're working from a production environment. If you've got some HR administrators in your team who are processing some new starters or processing employment changes, you'll know that, you know, the data could come out of date quite quickly. So shut that down. What other things can we do? Okay, so we've got annual salaries. I've got positions and things like that. Now, in our system, we've got a lot of positions in 999. Now, typically, they're reserved for, you know, when you're processing leavers, they're normally going to 999. Obviously, we've got a lot of sort of duff data in here because I know, looking at the employment status up here, I'm looking at active people. So I may want to go and filter those positions that are 999 out. So what I can do is go back up to my org assignment. I'm going to select position. So I actually want to specify a value. As you can see, they've got the position field here. Now what I want to say is exclude single values. So I just want to exclude all those nines. Now, I had to prepare it earlier, so I think there's actually 8 nines in there for the position number. I'll click on refresh, and it's now dropped it down to 53 people. So all those people down here, when I refresh, click on execute again. All those positions, I can see there, have now disappeared. So it's just basically using this function. You see the symbols changes. So I've got including ranges, I'm excluding single values. You know, it's really useful to keep an eye on here where you can do lots of ranges and values, inclusion and exclusions. You know, it depends how complex your reports are going to be. Okay, what other things can we do with the report down here? So we've got annual salary. So what I can do is highlight the annual salary. I can total the column up. So it just gives us a grand total of 231k in Great British pounds. Okay, so that's the total sum of salary, which you can do. I might want to break that down further and say, do you know what? Okay, so it's given us the total amount of salary for those employees. What about by team? So, you know, we may want to do like a subtotal by team. So what we can do is click on the subtotal here. So I highlighted the column and clicked on subtotal. So it now subtotals it by team. So we can see anyone. So there we go. So we've got a team, line 1. We've got 3 employees. We've got Chris, Rob, and Frank. in the structure, and you can see there that the total salary combined for that team there. You don't have to use this functionality. It's very basic sort of Excel stats and analysis that you can do with Ad-Hoc Query. There is limitations in terms of how much statistics. You might be using Business Warehouse, which has a lot more advanced features than Ad-Hoc Query. So we've got we've got subtotals. I can go and remove those by clicking on this button, and there you go. It just removes all the formatting. Again, I can go and export. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that we've got this area called Set Operations. I'm just going to quickly show you how this works. So I've just gone up to Extras, Set Operations. And what you can do, you can actually store the results in Sets A and Sets B. Okay, so what you can do, this is a very basic feature to sort of analyze your data. So I'm going to just very quickly delete my selections. Okay, I'm going to delete all that. So I want org assignments. I'm actually going to look at absence data. So let's go down to absences. I'm going to specify an attendance absence type. So I know that we've got 0100, which is the absence code. So just bung those in there. That's what we've got. Okay, so we've got 2 people at the moment now. I think it's reset my employment status. Let's go back up to employment status, select that. So we want to make sure that we're looking at our active employees. So at the moment, I'm looking at active employees who've got an absence period. Now, actually, I want to change my date. So I'm going to click on Other Period. I may want to look at everyone who's got absence period in 2010. So let's go and drop those values in there. I'll click on Refresh. So I've got 8 people. So it's telling me there's 8 people in the system that are active that have an absence in the year 2010. So I can go and store that in my set operations. So I click on this blank one here, and it stores those results in that field. Now I'm going to go and change my dates. I'm going to say, okay, so I want to see everyone who's absent in the year 2011. Yep, that's it. Okay, click on Hit List, and there's 2 people. So I'm going to store those 2 people in that set of results. So when I go to Set Operations, I can see that in my set A, if I click on the glasses, I've got my people there, and my set B, I've got my 2 people there. Now, this is where it gets a little bit fancy because it uses intersections, union sets. You think to yourself, well, what the hell's that? So intersection is just basically it's going to compare employees in set A and set B. So I'm going to click on Carry Out Operations, and it's telling me there's 1 person. What that's saying there is that there's 1 person that exists in set A and also set B. So thinking back to what we created the report for, so absences in 2010 and absences in 2011. So I can go and have a look. So it's telling me that there's John person, not a realistic employee name, 20026, has been absent in 2010. So if I look at that set of records, there he is at the bottom, and he's also got absence records in 2011 there. So as you can see, it's brought those details up. So this obviously combines or compares the data between the 2 sets, because you can't do that without using set operations, okay? Union set will basically merge all the data. So if I carry out an operation, it's saying, okay, combine everyone. So it's combined everyone, so it's looking at everyone in both reports there, so it's saying there's 9 people. So if I want to go and look at those 9 people, what I can do is transfer those results. It should work into my hit list here. Go back to selection. I have to remove my filter, because when I remove my filters, it's still storing those results here. As you can see, I've got my 8 employees there and 2 employees. So hopefully this should work. So it's actually showing me the 2 employees there. So obviously we've got the John there and the David. So it's a bit fiddly. So I get confused with this myself because it gets itself, and I think there's a few bugs within this set operation. So it's always worth keeping an eye on your numbers there. But it is really easy, it's useful to compare numbers, and you don't have to use it. I don't see many customers, the amount of companies that I've trained out over the last 13 years, I don't really see any companies using set operations, but it could be useful, to do comparisons, but you might have something already in Excel. So, okay, so we've got our results. Typically, you normally go up to output. So again, it's just another way of exporting your data. And again, you've got some additional functionality where you can do your sorts, you can do your additional filters. This export never works, so you normally have to actually save it to a local file. So you normally go to spreadsheets, save that data, and obviously just populate a file name in there. So hopefully I've covered off pretty much everything. So you're selecting your fields on here. You do your filters or your detailed selections and your ranges. You may have set operations. I can go and switch that off. So let's go hide set operations. Might not need that. You've got your reporting periods. Always key to make sure you're reporting in the right period. Always click refresh so it gives you the right numbers, and then click on refresh here to see your actual employees and obviously execute. So hopefully I've covered off pretty much everything in quite a short space of time. Steve, I'm going to hand over to yourself now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Craig. Yeah, I'm aware.
Activities, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm aware that was quite a challenge to go through Ad-Hoc Query in 35 minutes, especially some more of the advanced features. So thank you for that. That was brilliant. Excellent. So I guess with the wrap up now, what can you do now? So once you start thinking about reporting, it's kind of once you can use Ad-Hoc Query and of course the other kind of standard reports within SAP. We also find that the standard reports in SAP are sometimes much underused, and people build ad hoc queries when a perfectly good report exists already. So it's always worth looking under the info tabs on the menu system. But what can you do with better use of ad hoc query and the standard reports? You'll see there's another poll just up there on the screen. If you want to just fill in the answers to that quickly, please, that would be marvellous. So the first question, and really I suppose the clues, we're asking the question really, and we're guiding you to the answer. So what can you do with stuff? So one thing you can do is data quality reporting. So whether that's full-on data quality or whether you're just looking for exceptions and problems with data you already have. So data quality exception reporting. The reason we're quite involved in data quality from our side is people always look at where can you do training in SAP, and you can waste a lot of money training people when the system will actually give you the clues as to who does need training. It's the people who are entering bad data, because if you can't use the system properly, your data is going to be fairly poor. Of course, an ERP system like SAP is perfect for tracking back where poor data came from. Okay, and then sort of this is also a quick benchmark for yourselves as well. So do you do data quality reporting? How good are your reports? So just so you can compare yourselves really against everyone else. So Craig, I see you've ended the poll.
Yeah, we've got 10 seconds left, so we're just there's a couple more responses coming in now.
Okay, brilliant.
So I'll just share that with you guys.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks very much. Okay, so if I just open my poll window there. So some people are already very, very good at doing data quality reports. That's excellent. That's good to hear. Some people do some exception reporting, and other people don't do anything at all, or haven't answered. And again, that is also quite a common thing. So it really does depend. Sometimes you need to have had a bad experience with poor data, i.e. holding up a project for people to look at it. Other times people just think, well, actually, let's practically go and look at our data. So I'd say that's a fairly expected result. How good are your operational reports? So only a couple of people there have said really good. So obviously some people are having a bit of a challenge there. Most people, I would say, are in the zone of fairly happy. They're probably acceptable. They work. Maybe a little bit of room for improvement, and then a couple of others with some definite room for improvement. Okay, so really that is just a quick introduction to ad hoc. So